halfway through my wedding with my childhood sweetheart, his secretary, Gloria Jameson, suddenly appeared pregnant. Brian Burrell supported her and looked at me without a trace of guilt as he told me, I know I can't marry Gloria, but I promise to give her a wedding and provide our child with a complete family. From today on, she will also be my wife. You must love the child in her belly as if it were your own. The guests whispered among themselves, their faces showing a mix of shock and disbelief. My parents obviously looked furious. They pulled me aside and urged me to leave, saying they couldn't stand this humiliation. On the other hand, my in-laws tried to persuade me to stay, saying I should think about the bigger picture and complete the wedding. The only thing I could do was to glance at my childhood sweetheart's indifferent face and Gloria's smug expression. Chapter 1. Halfway through my wedding with my childhood sweetheart, his secretary, Gloria Jameson, suddenly appeared pregnant. Brian Burrell supported her and looked at me without a trace of guilt as he told me, I know I can't marry Gloria, but I promise to give her a wedding and provide our child with a complete family. From today on, she will also be my wife. You must love the child in her belly as if it were your own. The guests whispered among themselves, their faces showing a mix of shock and disbelief. My parents obviously looked furious. They pulled me aside and urged me to leave, saying they couldn't stand this humiliation. On the other hand, my in-laws tried to persuade me to stay, saying I should think about the bigger picture and complete the wedding. The only thing I could do was to glance at my childhood sweetheart's indifferent face and Gloria's smug expression. Then I smiled. I pulled off the corsage from my chest and threw it at Gloria. Turning to my childhood sweetheart, I said with a grin, a wedding for three. How tasteless. I'll step back and let her be the bride today. Congratulations on your pregnancy. It's your wedding now. Then I clapped loudly. The entire hall fell silent in shock. Brian's face darkened. Sabrina, today is our big day and you have to make a scene, don't you? He had the audacity to call me the one making a scene. At my own wedding, he openly supported his pregnant mistress and declared he would marry both of us. Did he think I would just accept this? I snatched the microphone from the MC and spoke loudly, thank you all for coming. There has been a slight change of plans, but don't worry, the wedding will continue. Only the bride has changed. Today's couple is getting married because of pregnancy, so let's send them our blessings. The entire room remained silent. Brian's expression turned even darker, and his parents' faces twisted in embarrassment. I ignored them and walked toward my parents, forcing a smile, as I said to them, Dad, Mom, let's go home. Guilt filled my heart. My parents had never experienced humiliation in their lives. And it was all because of me. My mother held my hand tightly, her eyes full of distress. My father stood up, bowed to the guests and said, I have arranged another party. Everyone's gift money has been returned. Tonight, I will treat you all. Watching my father bow, my heart ached. In my entire life, I had never seen my father bow to anyone. He had always been strong and proud. But today, because of me, even though Brian and I were childhood sweethearts, my parents had always opposed our relationship. We had countless arguments about him. I used to think they were being unfair, that they were simply biased against Brian. But now understood how sharp their judgment was. They had seen the truth long before I did. Brian was never worthy of my love. I used to believe that he loved me as much as I loved him. I thought he would never marry anyone but me. Since childhood, I had followed him, watched his every move, and adored him silently. 15 years had passed. 15 years was such a long time. Even a heart made of stone should have softened. But Brian's never did. That man remained distant, always flirting with other women. Whenever Brian saw me, he always got annoyed. But no matter how many times he pushed me away, I kept going back to him, like a moth drawn to a flame, even though I knew that I would get burned but unable to turn away. I thought that one day the moon would finally see my worth and love me wholeheartedly. But reality slapped me in the face. He even had a child with his secretary. Then, he brought her to our wedding. Brian dared to humiliate me in front of my family, friends, and everyone else knew without a single thought for my feelings. Chapter 2. Brian never had me in his heart. I gave up everything for him. I put him first in my life. I even argued with my parents because of him. Yet, he wouldn't even give me a proper wedding. Watching him hold his secretary's waist with one hand while touching her pregnant belly with the other, his eyes filled with tenderness to the point where I felt like I couldn't breathe. That man didn't care about my love. He threw it away and stomped on it. I was exhausted. I couldn't love him anymore. Just as my parents and our guests were leaving, my mother-in-law grabbed my mother's arm as the former said to the latter, "Mrs. Newell, what are you doing? Today is a big day for our children. You don't want outsiders to laugh at us, do you?" My father-in-law also spoke up. "Yes, Brian made a mistake, but you can scold or punish him later. This is something young people should handle themselves. We as elders should just watch." My mother sneered as she made a sarcastic remark, "Watch. Do you want us to stay and be humiliated even more? Our family has already lost enough face today." My father didn't say anything. He just looked at me, letting me decide. Brian helped Gloria walk up to me, his eyes cold. "Are you done making a scene? Do you want to embarrass both of our families even more before you're satisfied?" I let out a bitter laugh. Who was embarrassing both families? Me? Gloria looked at me with teary eyes as she said, "Sabrina, I'm so sorry. When I found out you and Mr. Burrell were getting married, I came to give you my blessings. But," she then touched her belly shamelessly, continuing, "I didn't expect to get pregnant. I know I did something wrong and I'm willing to accept any punishment. But the baby is innocent. I can't let my child be born without a father." She looked at me pleadingly as she said, "Sabrina, you're kind. I know you wouldn't want that, right?" Before I could respond, my mother pointed at Gloria and shouted, "What a shameless woman. You had an affair with my daughter's fiancé, got pregnant, and now you dare come here and act pitiful. I've never seen someone as disgraceful as you." My mother-in-law quickly grabbed my mother's arm. "Oh, Mrs. Newell, please calm down. Gloria has a point. The child is innocent after all." Then she turned to me and asked, "Sabrina, don't you agree?" My mother yanked her hand away angrily from my mother-in-law and coldly remarked, "Who's your in-law? My daughter has nothing to do with your son anymore." She turned to me, saying, "Sabrina, let's go. Don't marry him, let those three stay together." My mother-in-law's expression darkened. "What are you saying? We can't act rashly. Relatives and friends are watching. We should handle this properly." She looked at me and spoke in a coaxing tone, "Sabrina, you've always been sensible. Talk to your mother. Don't let everyone laugh at us." Brian spoke coldly, "Sabrina, if you love me, you should accept everything about me. Gloria is carrying my child. You should love the baby as much as you love me." That man spoke as if it was my duty to accept another woman's child. My father-in-law looked at both Gloria and me before sighing, saying, "Sabrina, Brian's mother, and Sabrina, Briar's mother, and watched you grow up. We know what kind of person you are. What's done is done. There's no point in making a fuss. What we need to do now is fix things." I looked at him calmly as I asked, "And how do you plan to fix this?" Without hesitation, he said, "First, you should finish the wedding and secure your place as Brian's wife. The baby in Gloria's belly is Brian's child, so we have to let it be born. But don't worry, you'll be the one raising the child. You'll be the real mother. As for Gloria, we'll give her some money and make her leave." Chapter 3. My mother-in-law immediately, Yes, this is a good solution." Gloria added, "I have no objections. Sabrina, I'm sorry for everything. Once the baby is born, you can raise it. I won't appear in front of you, Mr. Burrell, or the child again." Hearing this, I was so angry that I laughed. Of course, she had no objections. Not only would she get a large sum of money, but she also wouldn't have to raise the child herself. She had everything handed to her on a silver platter. Who wouldn't dream of such an easy life? Brian, growing impatient, snapped and angrily said, "Sabrina, my parents have said everything that needs to be said. Why are you still being so difficult?" He looked at me coldly, continuing coldly, "If I didn't believe you loved me so much, I wouldn't even bother marrying you." "Then as you wish," I said firmly. "We won't get married." Brian's eyes widened in disbelief. My mother clapped her hands as she shouted supportively, "Well said, Sabrina. I support you." On the other hand, Brian's parents panicked. "Sabrina, marriage is a serious matter. You can't just walk away like this," my mother-in-law protested. "You have to think carefully." My father-in-law glared at Brian. "Stop talking nonsense and stand aside." Brian scowled at me before turning to help Gloria. His parents turned back to me, trying to convince me again. I looked at them. All my life I had respected them almost as if they were my own parents. But now they weren't thinking about me at all. They only cared about making sure I married Brian and raised Gloria's child. Realizing they couldn't persuade me, my mother-in-law turned to my mother. Please, Mr. and Mrs. Newell, you should talk some sense into Sabrina. Even if you don't think about us, think about her. If she cancels the wedding now, it will ruin her reputation. My father-in-law quickly agreed, saying, yes, in-law, we must protect Sabrina's reputation. Off. Something about their words felt. So you're using my reputation against me? I asked coldly. For a moment, Brian's parents looked uneasy, but they quickly recovered. Sabrina, that's not fair. We're thinking about you too, my mother-in-law insisted. Yes, you have to understand our good intentions, my father-in-law added. I scoffed as I asked them back. Good intentions? Your son cheated before the wedding and you're just as shameless as he is. Disgusted, my mother grabbed my hand, ready to leave again. I shook my head as I told her gently, Mom, don't worry. This isn't over yet. I turned back to my in-laws, continuing, you've known about Brian and Gloria all along, haven't you? You hid it from me, pushed for this wedding, and even made sure we got our marriage certificate first. Also, you could bring Gloria's child into your family without any trouble. I let out a bitter laugh as I said, no wonder you were in such a rush for us to sign the papers before the wedding. You really thought everything through. Once again, Brian's parents looked uneasy, but they quickly regained their composure. Sabrina, this is for your own good, my father-in-law said smoothly. You truly love Brian. This way, you can still marry him, and we can welcome our grandson. It's the perfect solution. Perfect solution. What a joke. My mother was trembling with rage. How dare you deceive my Eve, my daughter like this? Is there no limit to your shamelessness? Dropping all pretense, my mother-in-law sneered, saying, it's too late for you to protest now. Sabrina and Brian are already legally married. If you don't want your daughter to be a divorced woman, she should just accept reality and stay married. It's in everyone's best interest. My father-in-law smirked as he said, Sabrina, think carefully. You don't want to go around with the label of a second marriage woman, do you? Gloria, who had been silent for a while, suddenly smiled and said, Sabrina, it's just one more child. Raising it won't be that difficult. She sighed dramatically, continuing shamelessly, this was just a small issue, but you had to turn it into a big deal. Now both families are at odds. Was it really worth it? Shut up. My mother's face turned red with anger as she lunged at Gloria, ready to slap her. I quickly stopped my mother and turned to my in-laws, sneering at their smug faces. I disappoint you. Sorry to disappoint you. Brian's parents frowned. What do you mean, my father-in-law asked. I crossed my arms as I calmly replied, Brian and I never got the marriage certificate. The triumphant expressions on my in-laws' faces froze. A second later, my mother-in-law shrieked angrily, impossible. I saw you and Brian go into the Civil Affairs Bureau myself. Chapter 4. My father-in-law turned to Brian with a fierce glare. What's going on? Didn't you say you already got the certificate? Brian quickly pulled a marriage certificate from his pocket as he said, I did. Look, it has the official seal, so it can't be fake. I smirked, responding, oh, just because it has a stamp doesn't mean it's real. Brian's face twisted in confusion, asking me, what are you talking about? I lifted my chin and answered smugly, it's just a steel stamp. As long as our information was never entered into the system, we aren't legally married. You fucking bitch. Brian pointed at me, his face red with fury. You bitch. You tricked me. I let out a cold laugh as L continued, you cheated before marriage, got Gloria pregnant and expected me to just go along with it. Why shouldn't I trick you? I took a step forward, meeting his furious gaze without fear. Didn't you and your parents want to use the marriage certificate to control me? Didn't you want to bring Gloria's child into the family without a fuss? Well, congratulations. Now you can do that without me. You should be happy. You bitch. Brian cursed. His hands trembled as he gritted his teeth. Forging a government document is illegal. Believe it or not. I'll call the police on you right now. I folded my arms unfazed. Instead, I challenged him by saying, go ahead. Report this to the authorities. Let's see how people react when they hear about your family's dirty schemes. I tilted my head mockingly. At most, I'll spend a few years in jail. but your family, your company, it'll be finished. Brian fell silent. My father-in-law narrowed his eyes at me as he coldly asked me, Sabrina, you knew all along, didn't you? I smiled, replied in a tone of fake innocence. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't pretend, my mother-in-law angrily responded, seemingly snapped. If you didn't know about Brian and Gloria, why didn't you go through with the marriage? Her eyes blazed with fury as she said accusingly, you dare call us despicable, but what about you? You played dumb and set this up just to humiliate us today. You're even more ruthless than we are. I chuckled as I responded back to her, if you hadn't schemed against me first, would we be here right now? I met her glare head on, continuing, in the end, this is all your own doing. I folded my arms, saying, if I hadn't accidentally caught Brian and Gloria fooling around in a parking garage before the wedding and hired someone to investigate, I'd be trapped in your little scheme by now. My mother pulled me into a tight hug, her eyes filled with pride. My daughter, you did an amazing job. I smiled and turned to face my in-laws. They looked like they had just lost everything. Brian could only just clench his fists as he asked, so this is what you've been doing? Pretending not to know? Sabrina, it must have been exhausting, living with a mask every day. I tilted my head and smirked, making a sarcastic remark, not as exhausting as you. He frowned. After all, I continued, you had to keep Gloria happy, pretend to be a loving fiancé to me, and secretly plot against me with your parents. That's a lot to juggle. I bet you barely even slept. I clicked my tongue as I smugly said, honestly, just thinking about it makes me feel bad for you. Enough. Brian snarled. You bitch. Just wait. I won't let you off so easily. I scoffed, asking, and what exactly can you do to me? I shrugged calmly as I continued, without a marriage certificate, you and I have nothing to do with each other. Then, I smirked as I said, oh, and one more thing, if you have time to think about getting revenge on me, you should spend it on Gloria instead. She is, after all, carrying your son. Chapter 5. Now that your plan has failed and you're not getting married or receiving my family's money, will Gloria still be so eager to give you a son? Gloria's face became pale as soon as she heard what I said. That evil woman quickly grabbed Brian's arm and spoke in a sweet voice, Mr. Burrell, I love you, not your money. Even if you lost everything, I'd still love you and give birth to your son. Brian looked deeply moved and hugged Gloria protectively. Then, he turned to me with a cold glare. Unlike this vicious bitch, he sneered, nodding toward me. She always claimed to love me, but she refused to sleep with me before marriage. She knew how much my parents wanted a grandchild, but she kept pretending to be pure and innocent, saying she wanted to save herself for our wedding night. He scoffed and spat on the ground, saying in a mocking tone, ha, I bet she's been with countless men behind my back and was just afraid I'd find out the truth. His words were vile, but Elle remained calm. Before I could even react, my mother pointed a trembling finger at him and shouted, you ungrateful asshole. How dare you slander my daughter's reputation? My father's expression darkened, as well as his jaw tightened in fury. I gently held their hands, giving them a reassuring squeeze. I told my parents, let him say whatever he wants. His words don't change the truth. But my mother started, still fuming. It's not worth it, Mom, I said, firmly, gently cutting her off. We've wasted enough time here. Let's go, our guests are waiting. Wait, my father-in-law's voice rang out, making everyone pause. You can't just leave after ruining the wedding like this, he snapped. I turned around and smirked, asking with a pretense of innocence, oh, what now? Do you want compensation? My father-in-law's lips curled in disdain. Compensation? Ha, I don't care about the money. What I want is for you to swear that you won't spread what happened today. If word gets out, our family will be ruined. And trust me, if we go down, we'll make sure your family doesn't have a good life either. I raised an eyebrow and glanced at Brian, whose face was twisted with rage, and then at Gloria, who clung to him anxiously. You should worry about your son and his not yet wife instead. Without another glance at them, I turned and walked out of the wedding hall with my parents, relatives and friends. The reception resumed, though. The atmosphere was different now. My parents went to entertain the relatives, while I took care of my friends. Sabrina. I turned to see my best friend, waving at me excitedly. I smiled and walked over, asking her, what is it? She grinned as she responded, that was amazing. Seeing Brian and his parents' faces turn purple with glass Anger, knowing they couldn't do anything about it. Ugh, I felt so satisfied. She shook her head and sighed, continuing, I've always said Brian doesn't deserve you. You did everything for him, and what did he ever do for you? Other than treating you like a servant? I chuckled, picking up a wine. Maybe I was just stupid. My friend scoffed, trying to humor me by saying, you were just too kind. I took a sip of my drink, then said with a firm voice, let's not talk about him anymore. From now on, he's him and I'm me. We have nothing to do with each other. That's the spirit. My best friend raised her glass, clinking it against mine. Later that evening, my mother and I helped my father out of the party hall. I hadn't drunk much. Getting drunk over a man who didn't love me wasn't worth it. But my father had consumed a lot and I knew why. It was because of me. Obviously, I had humiliated him in front of his relatives and friends. I had forced him to lower his pride for the first time. Thinking back to all the times I had fought with Brian, all the arguments, all the tears, I felt a deep pang of guilt. I had been an ungrateful daughter to my family. As we walked, my mother suddenly asked, Sabrina, why did Brian insist on marrying you? If his secretary is pregnant, shouldn't he just marry her instead? Why go through all this scheming? I sighed, my grip tightening around my father's arm. I calmly responded to my mother's question, because his company is in trouble. He needed money and marrying me was the only way to save it. Chapter 6. He married me for show, but in reality, he was after our company's money. My mother's face twisted in anger, responding to what I just said. That bastard. He got his secretary pregnant and still had the audacity to marry you just to cheat us out of our money. She grabbed my hand tightly as she continued, Sabrina, thank goodness you found out in time. If you had really married him and handed over the company, our family would have been ruined. She looked me straight in the eyes, her voice firm as she told me, promise me you won't regret this and go back to him. If you do, I'll never forgive you. I shook my head immediately, telling her in a reassuring tone, Mom, don't worry. One betrayal is enough. There won't be a second time. As fate would have it, I ran into Brian and Gloria in the underground parking lot. The moment Brian saw me, he wrinkled his nose and fanned the air with his hand in exaggerated disgust. You reek of alcohol. How much did you drink? Let me guess, you're drowning your sorrows because of me. He smirked as he continued, if you regret leaving me, it's not too late to change your mind. I couldn't help but laugh. How full of himself could he be to say something so ridiculous? Meanwhile, Brian's face darkened when he saw my response. What the hell are you laughing at? Nothing, nothing at all, I told him as I waved him off, still chuckling. Then I glanced at Gloria. Pregnant women shouldn't be around alcohol. Since she's carrying your precious son, you should take her away before anything bad happens. Brian snorted. Before he could say anything, Gloria clung to his arm as she said, Dear, I want to talk to Sabrina alone. Can you go get the car? Brian frowned, asking his mistress, what could you possibly need to say to her? Just go. Gloria pouted and acted sweetly. Brian sighed, responding, Fine, fine. I swear I can never say no to you. His voice was filled with affection. As he turned to leave, I barely stopped myself from rolling my eyes. Before he left, he shot me one last glare. Sabrina, if you dare hurt Gloria, I'll make you regret it. I ignored him and turned to my mother as I told my mother, help Dad to the car first. I'll be right there. Once they were gone, I looked at Gloria and immediately asked her, all right, what do you want to say? Gloria smiled, a glint of calculation in her eyes. Sabrina, I know you still love Brian. I can give him to you. Hearing this, I casually slipped my hand into my pocket and quietly turned on my phone's recording app. Just one condition, Gloria continued, holding up two fingers. $40 million. That's all. Once I get the money, I'll abort the baby and disappear from your life forever. You can have Brian all to yourself and live happily ever after. I raised an eyebrow as Elle pretended to be interested in her proposal by responding, sounds tempting. Her face lit up as she asked me, so you agree? I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. $40 million really isn't much, but I have one question. One question. Oh, I tilted my head as I asked her, what do you think Brian will do if he finds out you're willing to abort his precious son for money? Gloria's expression didn't waver. Instead, she let out a mocking laugh. Why should I care? I only want the money. Her voice was filled with disdain as she continued, I'll be honest with you, I only slept with him for money. She folded her arms and smirked. I thought getting pregnant would force him to marry me. I wanted to become a rich lady. But guess what? He won't even acknowledge me properly. I can't marry him and I'm not getting any money out of this. So tell me, why the hell should I give birth to his son? She scoffed angrily, saying, he and his parents promised me the world. They said I'd be treated well once the baby was born. But I'm not stupid. I don't want their empty words. Want real money. Her voice turned sharper as she continued, if you don't pay up, I don't care what promises they make. I won't believe a word of it. I gave her a long look and asked calmly, aren't you afraid I'll tell Brian what you just said? Gloria laughed, completely unbothered. Go ahead. She shrugged calmly as she continued, let's see who he believes, his beloved pregnant fiancé, or his ex who humiliated him in front of everyone? With that, she gently stroked her belly, her lips curling into a proud smile. Don't forget, she added smugly, I'm the one carrying his child. I stared at her stomach and my gaze turned ice cold. This woman, she didn't see the life inside her as a baby. She saw it as nothing more than a bargaining chip, a tool to extort money. And that made her even more disgusting than I ever imagined. Chapter 7. Brian treated that woman like a treasure, yet he and his parents had plotted against me for her. I laughed at myself. How pathetic. Brian pulled up in his car, rolling down the window. Baby, we should go, he said. Gloria waved at me as she said, Sabrina, think about it. If you change your mind, call me anytime. Brian shot me a cold glance before driving away. His voice carried back to me as they left. Baby, what did you say to that woman? Nothing, Gloria purred. Just told her to give up. You won't marry her because the only person you love is me. Brian chuckled as he proudly said, of course, baby. The only one I love is you. I smirked. What a perfect, affectionate couple. I just wondered if they'd still be so in love once Brian found out who Gloria truly was. I looked forward to it. Over the next few days, I focused on my work while keeping an eye on Brian's family. His company was in trouble. A massive funding gap meant stalled projects, missed deadlines, and looming breach of contract penalties. His parents scrambled to borrow money, but no one wanted to take the risk. Meanwhile, Brian was frequenting the bank, but it was not to save his company but to finance Gloria's lavish spending. Gloria was a bottomless pit, demanding money constantly. Luxury bags, designer jewelry, clothes, she bought everything she could get her hands on. To satisfy her, Brian drained the company's limited funds, took on personal loans, and even borrowed from the bank. I suspected Gloria knew exactly what was happening. She wasn't stupid. She was milking Brian dry, planning to take the money and run. What I didn't expect was for Brian to come crawling back to me. Expression serious. He said stiffly, just the two of us. He showed up at my office. I was wrong about the wedding. I apologize. Let's have a new. I nearly burst out laughing. He actually thought I still wanted him. Feigning curiosity, I asked, what about Gloria and the child? Seeing that I hadn't outright refused, Brian's eyes lit up. The child will be raised elsewhere, he said quickly. She won't appear in front of you. I'll give Gloria some money and send her away. She should be satisfied. I tilted my head as I asked her, but I thought you loved her. Only her. Brian scoffed coldly as he answered, I lied to her. The person I truly love is you. He gazed at me like a devoted lover. Sabrina, we grew up together. I know how you feel about me, and I've always loved you too. But as the general manager of a company, I face too many temptations. Sometimes I make mistakes. He took a step closer. But once we're married, our companies will merge. With you by my side, I won't be distracted anymore. I'll only love you. Then, the final act of his pathetic performance. Brian got down on one knee. Sabrina, marry me. I'll treat you well for the rest of my life. I nearly gagged. Chapter 8. I should have known. Brian was even more shameless than I had realized. I clapped my hands slowly. I couldn't help but make a sarcastic remark on his clearly fake performance. Whoa, Brian. You never fail to amaze me. His expression darkened as he asked, what do you mean? I mean I would never marry you. Go back to where you came from. His face twisted as he angrily asked me, why? You've always loved me. This is your dream. I chuckled, answering, maybe it was once. But now, the mere sight of you disgusts me. Brian's jaw clenched. His eyes darkened with anger as he shot up from his kneeling position. Sabrina, don't be ungrateful. Do you think I want to be here, begging? If it weren't for the company, I wouldn't even look at you. He sneered as he continued, Gloria is 10 times better than you. You're not even worth a strand of her hair. I smirked, remarking, really? Are you sure she loves you? That she actually wants to have your son? Brian scoffed coldly as he said, of course she loves me. She. I pulled out my phone and hit. Gloria's voice filled the room. 40 million. Give me 40 million and I'll abort the baby and disappear forever. You can have Brian all to yourself. Brian's eyes widened. His fists clenched. Where did you get that? He demanded. Play. Shoo, I said, cutting him off. After that, I continued, keep listening. The recording continued. I don't love him. I only love his money. If he can't give me a title or wealth, why should I give him a son? With this baby, he'll believe anything I say. Gloria's voice rang out clearly. Brian's face turned beet red. His entire body trembled with rage. That bitch, he roared. I'll kill her. I tucked my phone away, watching his meltdown with amusement. You thought you had her under control, I mused. But she was playing you from the start. I smirked as I continued, Brian, you're nothing but a fool. A laughingstock. Ah, Brian's furious scream echoed through my office. His bloodshot eyes burned into me. Why didn't you tell me earlier? He bellowed. I shrugged as I calmly asked him back, why should I? Your downfall isn't my problem. If you hadn't come here to annoy me, I wouldn't have bothered showing you the recording at all. Brian's hands curled into fists as he angrily shouted, You witch. You're just like her, laughing at me. I rolled my eyes, calmly telling him, no one's laughing at you, Brian. You did this to yourself. Your arrogance, your narcissism, you led yourself here. You fucking bitch. I leaned in slightly, continued, if I were you, I'd stop yelling at me and go home. Who knows? By now, Gloria's probably packed up and vanished with all your money. Brian froze. Then, without another word, he spun around and ran out of my office. I smiled, grabbed my car keys and followed. Of course, I had to watch the fun. By the time I arrived, Brian was in full meltdown mode, smashing everything in sight. That bitch. I'll kill her. His parents tried to restrain him, but he was beyond reason. Neighbors whispered among themselves. He came home screaming and called Gloria, but her phone was off. Then he lost it and started wrecking the place. Did she actually run away? But she's pregnant. So what? Plenty of women run away while pregnant. Judging by Brian's face, she definitely took off with the money. I leaned against my car, arms crossed, watching the show unfold. Checkmate, Gloria. Brian was finally getting what he deserved. Chapter 9. As I listened to the neighbors' whispers, I had to admit that Gloria was sharp. That woman saw the opportunity and ran before Brian could explode. If that mistress had hesitated even a second longer, she would have been the one facing his wrath. Brian's parents rushed toward me, desperation in their eyes. Sabrina, please talk to Brian. Sabrina, he's lost his mind. You're the only one who can calm him down. I smiled politely before shutting them down mercilessly. Sorry, you've got the wrong person. There's nothing I can do. Before they could protest, a furious roar echoed from inside the house. Brian stormed out, gripping a kitchen knife in his trembling hands. His face was twisted in madness. That bitch lied to me. I'm going to kill her, he screamed angrily. His grip on the knife tightened. Everyone who betrays me should just fucking die. The neighbors gasped and backed away in fear. Even I was momentarily stunned. I knew Brian was weak and selfish, but I hadn't expected him to completely lose his mind. Damn. Brian, calm down, his mother pleaded as she stepped forward. She never saw the slash coming. Blood sprayed from her arm as she let out a shriek of pain. Somebody call the police, a neighbor shouted in panic. Sirens blared in the distance. Within minutes, officers swarmed the scene, restraining Brian as he thrashed and screamed. The paramedics loaded his mother into an ambulance. One of the older neighbors sighed as he said, such a promising family, how did it come to this? I let out a cold laugh. They did this to themselves. Later, I heard that Brian had caused chaos at the police station, screaming about killing Gloria and wrecking his cell in a fit of rage. When the doctors evaluated him, they diagnosed him with severe mental illness and sent him straight to a psychiatric hospital. His parents didn't handle the TNE news well. learning that their son was locked in an asylum and that their precious unborn grandson no longer existed shattered them completely. Their health declined rapidly and they were both hospitalized. Without any relatives to care for them, they became victims of hospital neglect. The nurses bullied them, clothes, eating, chem, wraps and mercilessly by leaving them in soiled clothes, feeding them scraps and lashing out at them when no one was watching. Did I feel bad? Not for a second. This was karma. They had sown the seeds of their own downfall. With their company on the verge of collapse, I seized the opportunity and took over. After injecting fresh capital, I revived the business and expanded it beyond anything Brian had ever achieved. 2 years later, I stood at the pinnacle of success. I was the most celebrated entrepreneur in the city, admired by all. Netizens hailed me as the city's #1 beautiful, rich, and powerful woman. My future was dazzling. And Brian? Just a forgotten name from the past.